once COVID happened, we were working from home. We didn't have to take the girls to daycare and school and things like that. We're like, we don't want to go back to that other life anymore. We can do this. Like, we can be those other people. And we sold everything we own, including the house, and here we are.
That's Adam and Linds from the Clarkson Travels. They are a full-time travel family that's been on the road now for 15 months, spanning 19 countries and obviously countless adventures. But you'll come to see, as I chat to Adam and Linds, that traveling full-time with 3 young children isn't exactly always the fairy tale that it's made out to be on Instagram. Some of the areas that we cover off today, the family dynamics and the typical daily life of a full-time travel family, traveling full-time with kids and education, socialization and homesickness, and of course the good, the bad and the ugly of full-time family travel. Hopefully you guys enjoy this chat, because I certainly did. And if you want to learn more about the Clarkson family, I have all their social media channels in the description and pinned in the comments. Let's get into it. What inspired you guys to start traveling in the first place? 15 months is a long time to be going, and so what triggered the initial leap of faith?
I think a lot of it was we always kind of watched other traveling families and travel people that did it and thought that would be cool. So we just always thought that would be neat, watched them and thought maybe that's for other people to do though. So, and then once COVID happened, we were working from home. We didn't have to take the girls to daycare and school and things like that. We're like, we don't want to go back to that other life anymore. We can do this. Like, we can be those other people. And we sold everything we own, including the house, and here we are.
And so what were some of your initial fears and concerns when deciding to take this big leap of faith and head off on this big adventure you guys are on? And then what did you do to sort of address them? Because I know when I speak to a lot of families who are wanting to do this, they have a lot of reasons not to do it. But sometimes they can't get over those hurdles in their mind that are blocking them from actually doing trips. So how did you address those fears? Because we all have them. But what did some of the things you did?
Yeah, so exactly. And it's so easy to find a reason not to do something. It's not the right time because of this. And I think at some point you just had to recognize that. And there's always going to be something that will block you if you want there to be something to block you. And you just have to get over it. And if you're going to miss your mom's 60th birthday party, then you're going to miss it. And you can't keep waiting or something. That's not a specific thing, but that is something that could happen. If there's a dance recital for the girls or something, it's like there's always going to be a reason to delay it or push it back. And you've got to recognize that and just do it.
Yeah, that's such great advice. I think if you just keep pushing it back and, for those little micro events that happen in the grand scheme of your life, you never end up doing it, because there's always one of them popping up around the corner. And so the main reason I wanted to get you guys on today is to talk about, the good, the bad and the ugly of full-time travel. Obviously, we talk a lot about, practical ways to do this, but I wanted to talk to people that have first-hand experience with the whole gamut of what's involved with traveling. So we'll start with some of the good. So, how have you found your daughters have been adapting to a new way of life? Because obviously it's a big change from a 9-to-5 living in a stable house to basically move around for 15 months. So how have they found the adapting to that lifestyle?
The good is just watching them experience different things and different cultures and different ways of living and the way people live. And there's one of them crawling behind us right now. But
it is, right?
It's just like they know how to use chopsticks. Like our 4-year-old knows how to use chopsticks, and they're learning greetings and thank yous and goodbyes in different languages, and they can recognize flags of different nations, and that things that, like, when I was their age, never would have known those kinds of things. So it just, that hands-on learning and immersion in these other cultures is rewarding to see. And trying the food. Oh my gosh. It's like they're
Yeah, they eat. They'll try anything.
raw fish in Japan and
And they pretty
squid
much
on a
like it.
stick in Thailand, I think.
Wow, that's so good. And those are things that they wouldn't generally experience at home, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you can simulate that stuff as much as you can, but it's not the same as being in Japan and eating raw squid and things like that, is it?
For sure.
Okay, so how do you guys? So I briefly touched. You briefly touched on schooling for you girls, and you have two of them that are in school age. Is that correct, or is there all three of them? So how do you guys handle schooling on the road?
So I use a program called Reading Eggs. It's online, and they also have books. So they get the hands-on plus online stuff for their reading and their math. And then pretty much everything else, like, so our girls are about to finish kindergarten and first grade. And so the other stuff is just world school stuff, going out and exploring and everything. But their reading and their math right now is through that program.
I think Reading Eggs is an Australian business.
Yeah, it's I think that's where it. That's where they founded it.
Because we do that as well, and it works as a combination of other things. But that's a really amazing program, and a lot of Australian schools use it as well. So it's built into the Australian curriculum of schooling, which is really interesting. So a big shout out to Reading Eggs there if they're watching this. So what have been some of the challenges you found with taking education on your own shoulders and teaching your own children?
So that was the other thing. Like when we decided we were going to do this, I quit my job and we did the trip to Europe. And I also started homeschooling Lily for kindergarten to make sure that I would be able to do that and I wouldn't be too stressed out. So I kind of did that and we had a great year and she loved it. I loved it. So
yeah, awesome. And what have you seen as some of the benefits you found by taking education in-house and doing it yourself?
I would say that they learn what they need to learn in a smaller amount of time than being at school for 8 hours. And I just feel like they're able to go outside and explore the world and play and things like that and do their school. But school doesn't take 8 hours a day.
Yeah. We found the same thing with our boys. We do 3 hours a day of school, and that's plenty. Our boys are a little bit older, so they're year 3 and year 2. But yeah, they 3 hours a day is plenty. It's probably too much, to be completely fair. But that's really interesting to hear. Have you found? Did they do any traditional schooling before you went on this trip?
Preschool, so no, like daycare and preschool. And then Lily, when I quit, is when Lily would have went to kindergarten, and that's when.
Oh, sure.
School, yeah.
Okay, so what has been some of the most rewarding experiences you've had on this trip so far that maybe you wouldn't have gotten if you were just staying home in the US?
One of the things you wouldn't have thought of when we made this plan was the amount of time we would be together, and could be both positive and negative, but it's mostly positive. We were sending our girls to daycare while we worked for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. We'd get home, we'd rush them to get baths and fed, and by the time we were done with that, they was read a story and it's bedtime. So it's like the entire 5-day work week was shot for any quality time with our kids. And then the weekends, we were doing stuff around the house, mowing the lawn and fixing the bathroom up and doing other things. It's like, we're not spending time with each other. And it's been amazing to spend every day with our kids and watch them grow and help them learn. And it's,
like life is too short. Like there's 18 summers or something crazy is what people say.
Yeah. I know.
Which is nuts.
7 of them already gone with So
yeah, it's crazy, right? And I tell people that when they ask us what the biggest benefit of doing that is, and I say the same thing as like, you don't realize how much time you actually waste at home doing mowing, picking kids up from school, dropping them off from school, going to sports. It's amazing how much time you actually lose during the day that you gain back when you're traveling like this, because it's 24 hours a day, right?
Yeah.
And now, obviously, because it is 24 hours a day, there is always some challenges when it comes to traveling like this. And so what are some of the What have been some of the toughest challenges you faced traveling full time as a family?
I would say finding downtime for the girls, finding those moments where they can just play and be kids and not have to carry a backpack through a train station in Tokyo, where they can just, like right now, we're in Thailand, so we're this huge condo, 3-bedroom apartment, and
feels like a mansion.
it feels like a mansion. We've been staying for months in single rooms, all of us sleeping and eating in the same studio rooms for like 3 months. So this is amazing. And the girls can go off on their own and just have some time where they can decompress or play with toys or color or whatever they want. And it's nice to have these moments to separate as well.
Yeah, of course. So obviously, a big part of traveling full time as a family is the traveling side of it. There's a lot of transit, between places, trains, buses, airplanes, things like that. So I want to talk a little bit about the ugly days of traveling, full time, especially the travel days. You have been around this space for a long time, and you hear horror stories of travel days as families because of the logistics involved. So have you had any of those days where you've gone, especially in travel days, where you've gone, actually, is it this all worth it because it's so much stress?
Yeah. I don't know if we've said, like, is this worth it because it's so stressful? I don't know if we've ever really said that, but it is definitely stressful sometimes. And you can think like, oh man, but yeah, like our worst stressful travel day was actually just the other day when we came to Bangkok.
Oh, really?
We left one of our bags in Terminal 1 in South Korea, and we were going to Terminal 2 to leave. So we have the taxi driver drop us off. Adam has to go take a train to Terminal 1 to get the bag, and the train isn't working. So he gets on the bus. It takes like 20 minutes to get there. He gets the bag. He gets back on, but we literally had like 30 minutes still to check in. That's how long it was taking for everything. It was crazy. And then we get to the check-in, and then they start like questioning like all of our things. Like they wanted a bag for our stroller, and they wanted this and that, and we were like, oh my goodness, like, oh, they wanted us to have ongoing travel, which we
oh wow
yet because
you don't get asked that too often.
Yeah.
So we had to like sign a piece of paper saying that they've informed us that we may be denied entry. It's like, it's fine.
So just so stressful. And then we finally get through that. And then we find out that we have to get on a train to get to where we need to go to our gate. So we're like running through the place, like, yeah, very stressful. So that day, maybe I would have been.
Yeah, I would say 9 out of 10 of our worst and most stressful days are travel days. And
I think that's a global catchcry of this full-time travel community, is that travel days are to be avoided when possible because they are logistically so difficult. And I can't imagine doing it with a kid in a stroller as well. Like our boys, at least they are.
Kid in the stroller is also sometimes a blessing because you get pulled through the express lines.
Oh, nice to play that card.
Yeah. Immigration.
Yeah, so we were heading to Bangkok. She was walking fine, and Lindsay's like,
get her in the stroller.
I'm like, no, we're coming up in immigration. We're in the stroller. So we did, and like 2 seconds later, they pull us through. We skipped hundreds of people waiting in line.
And we saw a bunch of people with kids in the other line, and I was like, thank goodness we put her in that stroller.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Like, I think one of the biggest things about traveling like this, and I mean, you guys have been away for 15 months now, so you'd have plenty of these, is those stories, is those adventures. Even, the thing with bad experiences, they make good stories, right? Yeah. And, I swear every single family could have a book of just like stories like that. But it's not all bad, right? Like the full-time travel side is not all bad. So let's talk a little bit about, hello. got a visitor in the background. So let's quickly touch on finances for a second. Obviously, of all the questions we get asked at Families on the Horizon, that is probably the single biggest one we get asked is about finances. How, as a ratio, we don't need to talk about specifics, obviously, but like as a ratio, how much has it cost you relative to if you were going to stay at home with your current situation, 9 to 5 with your home, have you saved? Has it cost you more? Has it cost you less? And if so, like what kind of ratio has it been?
It was, let's see, last year, we definitely spent less than we spent in a year at home. Just removing car payments, insurance, mortgage, those kind of things. Now, the advantage of having a mortgage is you're building equity, but let's just say that mortgage was rent, then you're not. So
yes.
It's kind of like, why not do this then? It did not cost us anymore. And the video I'm editing right now, I kind of talk about it because we just did a road trip across America, and it was so expensive. We were like, we can't wait to leave here because it's so much cheaper everywhere else. Like, it was too expensive.
Yeah.
The food and everything was so expensive in the U.S.
Yeah.
We just forgot how. We were just numb to it when we lived there.
You've been acclimatized to living with everything being cheaper, right?
Yeah.
So it was kind of a reverse culture shock, I guess is what they call it, when we went home. It was, but yeah, I don't think we're spending any more than we did. We obviously are. We can't.
Yeah.
Because we're not making more money than we used to.
Yeah.
Yeah. The math checks out.
Yeah. We're really bad at keeping like meticulous budget records. So we've been trying to lately. We've been starting to use an app and trying to log everything so we can kind of see
Which
where
country.
our downs and what we spend in a country, because we did it at the beginning of our trip, and it's been awesome to go back a year later and look at like, okay, this is what we were spending. This is how much the accommodation was or whatever in this country. And we got to get an idea if we go back there, what it's going to cost again. So,
yep. So interesting you say that, because like I said, a lot of people, that's what they bring up is they're not sure. Like, a lot of people that have spoken to us about this they've said, I'm going to have to quit my job and find another way of making money digitally, which helps a lot, right? It does help a lot. I'm going to throw a few of the things, like the hesitations that I hear from people that I've spoken to, and I want to just hear what your personal thoughts are on that. And the big one is socialization for your children. That's a big one that pops up as a reason not to travel full time like this. What are your thoughts on socialization?
Meet other traveling families.
Yeah.
Meet as many of them as you can and meet up with them. Meet them at a public park. So it doesn't have to be weird and scary. Just meet them at a public park. And we've met so many people.
Yeah. Our girls have so many friends now that they would have never met.
Yeah. So find other traveling families on Instagram, and there's thousands of them.
Yeah.
And meet them.
Yep.
Meet up.
Yep. We still talk to them, and we've met some of the families multiple times, just different locations.
Over again, yeah.
Just run into them in as you cross paths.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, oh, wait, you're going to be back in that place? Okay, we're going to be there too. Let's try and organize it to it's the same. Because I don't know how free you guys are with your schedule, but it's like we pretty much don't plan our next place until we're in. So we one destination, and we're not, because we've tried to do it 3 or 4 ahead, and it always backfires.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're just so free. It's awesome. Like, we had 2-3 sets of friends that all happened to like cross paths in Johor Bahru, Malaysia, and we like all spent like a month at Legoland.
The annual pass.
Yeah.
It was awesome. It was great.
Yeah, that's as far as like a place to just meet up with people and spend some good downtime. That Legoland in Malaysia is probably one of the it's like a central meeting place for families.
Yeah.
It's so cheap.
Yeah.
So another thing we hear a lot is safety. And safety on the road, safety for your family being in a foreign country. What would you say to people that are concerned about safety?
Yeah, my mom actually sent me this the other day. She says, where's been the place you felt the least safe? And my answer was the U.S. So, and that's not even a joke. Like, it's just like the gun violence in the U.S. is out of control, and I don't feel safe there. And I think I was a little bit numb to it when we lived there, but then coming home, it was just like on my mind constantly.
Yeah.
And I don't know how it feels for other people that are not from the U.S., but that is seriously, and I will never send my kids to a public school in the U.S. because there's
always a risk. There's a risk there, right?
Yeah.
So,
and it's like other things, like we've also taught our kids, like there's, people like, especially in Europe, it's really bad. People try to hand you stuff or do scams, whatever.
Yeah.
We've always told them, like, do not touch anything. Do not let anyone hand you anything. Move your hands, like whatever. So I don't know, but I don't know. We haven't really ever felt scared or.
We had a couple times. We were in Milan and we were walking, and it was during the daytime, but we walked through this park, and it was kind of like a drugged in kind of park. It was broken bottles everywhere, needles, things like that. We're like, oh, we should not be here. So we got there as fast as possible. We didn't really feel in danger, but if it was nighttime, I probably would have felt in danger.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you guys mitigate that risk? Obviously, I mean, in any country, there's safety risks, right? But obviously, when you're traveling full time in a country maybe that you're not super familiar with, how do you guys go about mitigating that risk, especially with 3 young children?
You know what? It's kind of, people get scared about it. People who haven't done it, I think, get scared about all the what ifs. They read the bad things that happen to a few people. And my biggest advice is, don't get drunk. Don't follow random people into a bar. Keep your wits about you. Be aware of your surroundings. Don't care for valuables. And you're pretty much going to be safe. Most of the people in the world are good people. Yes, you do have to worry about those few bad ones, but just be smart.
Yeah.
Smart.
So the things that still apply when you're at home apply when you're traveling. And what you're saying, yeah.
Exactly.
You don't flaunt valuables at home. You're not going to flaunt valuables traveling through Asia or.
And if you don't feel safe in an area, get out of there. It's like, if it doesn't feel right, get out. Like, trust your gut sometimes.
We're talking about the good and the bad. The ugly, one of the uglies is the fact that you're not going to have your, mattress at home that's super comfortable and your pillows. And like you said, you're going to walk into places. Sometimes there'll be cockroaches. Sometimes, it's just par for the course with traveling. So what is the trade-off for that? Because a lot of people would see that and go, oh, I don't want to, put up with that. So what tangible benefit do you get sacrificing that side? And what are the things that you've gotten where you've gone, actually, this has made it worth all that personal comfort sacrifice and tolerance and things like that?
I would say it's all the things that you see on Instagram and on people's YouTube. The things that I just talked about are the things that don't get shared. It's the beautiful sunsets over a mountain that you've never seen. It's the limestone cliffs jutting out of Halong Bay. It's the markets down at Patpong Street in Bangkok. It's all of that. It's walking downstairs and being assaulted with all these senses that you have never seen, the honking horns and the tuk-tuk drivers and the smell of the exhaust and the smell of the chicken being cooked. And it's all those that...
And all of us being together, like, family.
And seeing it and just like, I don't know, it's... I guess if you don't get it, you don't get it. And stay in the U.S. or stay in Australia. And because you're not. It's like I used to think, I traveled a lot when I was younger, like backpacked and lived in hostels and things. But I used to try to talk people into it, like, oh, you need to do it. You need to experience it. It's life-changing. And eventually it gets to the point, it's like, you know what? Not everyone does. Not everyone wants that. Some people want that stable life in the suburbs in the Midwest United States, and that's fine. There's enough people traveling already.
That's a good point. And so let's quickly talk about how this has affected you as a family, because obviously, I agree with you guys. I feel like there's something that people are missing out on by not doing this, and that is coming together as a family and spending a lot of time together. But what tangible things have you seen in your children? Because obviously, especially your oldest, was in kindergarten and stuff. Have you seen a change in their behavior? Have you seen a change in your family dynamics since you've been traveling full time?
It's kind of tough because, one, this is new to us too, everything with kids. So they're already growing and doing things every day that surprise us. Would they already be doing that if we were somewhere else? So sometimes to divide what they're learning on the road with, well, would they have done that or acted that way?
I mean, obviously, like seeing the world would definitely be different than just being at home. But
Yeah, but how it affects them and their development, I don't know.
I can speak to myself. You know, I've spoken about this on Families on the Horizon. One of the biggest things that I've noticed is my youngest child, because I was working so much and working, from basically 8 a.m. till 7 o'clock at night with our business that we have. He wasn't as close to me as Liam was before I had the business, because I was spending a lot more time with Liam. And what I found on this trip is that our youngest has become a lot more closer to me, because he's just seeing more of me and getting a bit more of that osmosis, those vibes, a bit more about what I'm about. And it's something I definitely noticed, because my oldest boy is super close to me, but Riley wasn't as much. But now he is just as close as Liam is to me. So that was one thing I noticed when we started traveling, is that because you're just spending so much more time together, you don't appreciate how little time you are actually spending at home, and how much that disconnects everyone as a family. So have you guys noticed that as well? Are you building a stronger connection as a family because of the traveling?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. And I think that even outside the family, I think that the girls are opening up more to talk to other people. And they used to be very introverted and very shy. And I think they're starting to open up to more other people, strangers and things like that.
Yeah, they definitely are, because like when we first started last year, they hardly would talk to like anyone. But now, the other day, we were just at the playground and they were like, I'm going to go make this friend. I'm going to go talk to her. So, they wouldn't have done that last year, though, at this time.
So let's quickly talk about conflict resolution. So you are a married couple, you're like us. Everyone has arguments. Everyone has disagreements. So being in each other's pockets, for lack of a better term, 24 hours a day. I know there's people out there that actually go, phew, got 8 hours where I'm actually at work. I don't have to deal with the problem. So how do you guys manage that side of things? What do you guys do if you have a disagreement about where to go, or, something just gets on your nerves? It's just one of them days and you're pushing each other's buttons. What do you guys do when you're with each other 24 hours a day? Especially if you're staying in one bedroom studios for the last 3 months.
Yeah, we have our moments, and sometimes you just, I don't know.
It's usually on a travel day. Oh, those are the stressful days that usually then arguments are.
Yeah. So find food.
Yeah.
Food. Usually somebody's hungry.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
It's sometimes you just gotta let the other person just go. Let them vent. Let them be mad for a bit, and then we're usually fine.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'll get upset and whatever, and sometimes she does, and we just gotta do that, and we'll be fine.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think you need to think about that before you go, right? Like if you guys maybe butted heads a lot before you left and couldn't manage conflict before you left, being basically put in a square room where you have to stay with each other because you're in a foreign country, you can't just walk away or drive away, and you haven't worked out how to manage conflict before you leave. That could definitely become ugly really quickly, I'd imagine. We don't have that issue either. But
I think that's a really good point. I feel like if you already are having issues in your relationship, going on a trip like this is not going to make them better. It's only going to exacerbate any of the problems you had before. So I would say to somebody like that, don't think this is going to make things better. Because if you argue a lot now, you're probably going to argue.
There's more reasons to argue when you travel.
Yeah.
That's what I found.
Yeah, we never did really. And we still don't. We don't fight. We don't have yelling, fighting matches. Like that's just not us. We'll get, people get huffy and mad and things, and that's it. We let them go. But
yeah, awesome.
And I know what you mean. I have some people I know that they work 10 hours a day and then they go out afterwards with their friends and stuff. It's like, do you ever even your spouse? Like,
yeah.
It's like, to them, they probably wouldn't be good doing this.
I think that's what you were saying about some people just not getting why you would do a trip like this. Some people look at spending 24 hours a day with their family and go, I can't, they're just honest about it. They go, I just can't do that. I can't spend that much time with my significant other. Whereas if you're a bit of a homebody, like you sound, Adam, you kind of sound like me, a bit of a homebody, like spending time at home with the family. It's a good, you then look at it and go, oh, it's an opportunity to spend more time with your family, not, whereas at home you're not spending as much. I just want to end on some questions here. So if there's people watching this and they're now motivated to at least entertain the idea of traveling full time, because that's what we want to do, is help inspire people to take this leap and show that there's plenty of families that are doing it and there's plenty of support out there. What would be some advice you would give that person that's watching this, that's on the fence about traveling full time?
I've never looked back and said, we shouldn't do this. It's not even been like a thought in my head. So I think that's one of the biggest fears when you first start, is that you're making a mistake, that you're going to do this and then you're screwing up your life or you're screwing up something. And we've never had that. So just do it. And even if you are too afraid to commit to full time, try and maybe do a smaller month-long, 2-month-long, something like that if you can. It'll kind of give you that feeling like, because slow travel is so much more fun than going to a place for 3 or 4 days and moving on. It's just like, I love getting immersed and just being able to sit back and have a day off and just do nothing or whatever. So just do it, I guess. Yeah, I don't like that, but it sounds like it is. It's Nike, that's right.
How about you, Lindsay? Do you have any advice for those people that are potentially on the fence?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I would say, yeah, do it. We haven't ever regretted it. It's been amazing. The girls love it. We love it. The girls are making friends. So yeah, if you're nervous about the social with your kids, don't be. You'll meet families.
Yeah, I think that's another thing with the families. Message people on Instagram.
Yeah.
Message the other families. Anybody you're following that you're getting, almost every person we've ever messaged that's a traveling family will respond to you back.
Yeah.
We respond to almost every message we get.
Yeah.
If you have questions or you're scared, message people. Ask them. Ask them what you're scared about.
Yeah, you definitely have to do that.
Yeah.
You can't just think that it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So yeah, you definitely have
Talk to people.
Yeah.
Yeah, though. Talk to people who've done it.
We're all in the same boat, right? Like we're all trying to find ways to interact and keep the kids meeting new people. And so I always look forward to when other families reach out, because it's like, it's actually an opportunity to meet some interesting people that I wouldn't have met back in Australia, and the way kids meeting people that have got, that from a place that they're not from. So I would encourage that too. I think that's a fantastic idea. If you didn't know what your next steps were, just reach out to any traveling family that's been doing it for a while and just see what they say. Because 9 out of 10 times they're going to give you some good advice, I think.
Definitely.
And one last question, guys. If you could do it all again, so let's rewind the clock 15 months, would you have done anything differently to what you're done now?
Yeah. Other than the YouTube stuff that I kind of already talked about, I wish I would have filmed more of that stuff. Just as far as the traveling family stuff goes, I would say we spent way too much time at the beginning in Europe. It was very expensive there, and we blew a lot of our budget in the first 3 months of our trip. So I know everyone wants to go to Europe, and it's kind of like training wheels for traveling, but don't spend too much time there because it can be really expensive. So I kind of wish we would have moved on earlier. We probably could have got maybe 2 more months out of.
I always tell people this: the training wheels for traveling is Malaysia. If you want a place to start traveling, go to Malaysia, go to KL, spend a month there.
If you just want like a little taste of a language barrier, because everyone speaks English.
Yeah, and the roads are good. There's public transport. The healthcare system's good. There's good air quality. It's basically like a cheaper version of Singapore with all the same amenities and cultural, taste of Asia, a lick of Asia.
For sure. That's
Awesome. So thank you very much, guys, for watching. Make sure to subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video.